Hi, I'm Mark Davis with Big Water Adventures. Ordinarily, you're going to see me out in the saltwater doing anything from redfish to billfish. I want to talk to you about a product that I'm using on my home lake in South Carolina right now for stripers that allows me to put a whole lot more rods out without making any modification whatsoever to my boat other than by using one product from Cisco Innovations. If you go down here and take a look, Cisco Fishing Systems, this is essentially, it's a 3-rod holder, okay? Now, rod trees, there's all kinds of different names that they go by, but the neat thing about it is, if I pull it out right here, the whole piece, that's just a gimbal right there, fits down inside my rod holder, locks down, and essentially what I'm doing is instead of having one rod sitting here on this rod tree, I've got 3 across. Now, salmon guys have been on this for years. Salmon guys will run 3, 5, 7, all kinds of rods on rod trees like this. The saltwater guys, it's just starting to catch on because the reality of it is this. For you to have a rod tree like this in salt water, you had better be able to exercise some force. If I'm going to be using wahoos or something of that nature, you know, speed trolling with some drag on it, or if I'm putting spreads out, whether, you know, I'm drifting live baits for sailfish, running one off up to a kite, whatever I'm doing, I've got to have some pressure on those rod tubes and on this entire system. That's the reason that Cisco Innovations, this Cisco fishing system, is done right. It's from the highest, best tolerance grade metals. Everything locks in place. If you look down here real tight, in order to even make this thing turn one side or the other, it's got a very heavy spring system that will allow it to rotate, and all those teeth lock just like cogs. I mean, they lock down and they lock down tight. There is no way to adjust that other than to pull up and do it the way that it's supposed to be done. To tip this down, once you've got them, it'll go from a vertical position, no tools necessary, vertical position, locked down tight, all the way down to a horizontal position. Now, let's stop for a second. As you can see, I'm out here Labor Day weekend with a bunch of boats. Let's stop for a second and ask yourself, what does this allow me to do? Besides just having one rod right here, the best way to spread lines apart is to get them as far apart as possible. Now, if I wanted to do it, this one is pointing straight out the back. This rod, if I was running down rods and I needed to get them even further apart, I can put this one forward. Now, if I've got a 7-foot rod going this way and a 7-foot rod going this way, down rods for stripers, and probably 3 feet in between, 7 and 7 is 14 plus 3, my tips, my down lines are 17 feet apart, which means I could easily run one off this center right here. Now, my fish are 30 to 60, 70 feet deep right now, so what I'm doing is I'm running 2 down rods off of each one of these. This is a flat line that's going straight back out. Now, if I want to get it up a little bit higher, if I'm drifting a little bit slower and I want to make sure that it stays out away from my power pole and my motor, I just tip it up to the vertical position like that. Or if I want to set it down because I want to go a little bit slower and I want the fish to load the rod up a little bit more. The point is, once you get this thing cranked down, there is a good bit of force you can put on that. You can even see, I can shake the entire thing and I'm not slipping that in any way, shape, or form. So what I have here now, instead of 1 rod in my gimbal, I've got 3 in a rod tree. All easy adjustment. I can go 360 degrees. I can go from vertical to complete horizontal. They're spread out to where I can spread them as far as the rod tips will go. And the kicker is, since I've got a small boat with 2 rod holders, essentially 2 gimbals, I've got them on both sides. So if you stop and think for a second, when you're in a school of stripers and you're catching them as fast as they'll eat baits, now instead of going from 2 rods, I've got 6 rods. So essentially what it does, the small boat angler, I don't care whether you're fishing for walleye, the salmon guys have been on this for years. The biggest problem has always been in saltwater that a lot of these things that are made for this kind of an application, I would not trust a wahoo bait doing 15 knots with 18 pounds of drag on it. This will, can, has, and does hold it. It allows me to spread my baits out without the use of outriggers and some of the other things that small boat owners might not necessarily have. You can do a lot of things by simply inserting that gimbal and hooking that rod tree up. Check them out at Cisco Innovations. As I said, that's the 3-rod tree, but they make a bunch of different kinds. They're the highest quality product. They will not have any problem whatsoever in saltwater or freshwater, and you'll only buy 2. If you got 2 rod holders, you'll never have to buy any more. Unbelievable quality. I'm Mark Davis with Big Water Adventures. That's something that's a little tip in making my small boat into a big boat.